How's it going everyone, and welcome to this video here on the Bold Cafe YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a big reason that I think going bald makes you a much better person. In a nutshell, losing your hair and being totally bald, it really makes you realize what is important in life. So after talking to so many guys, the thing that I found really inspiring, really comforting, is to see that time and time again now, guys are realizing that hair does not define them, their looks does not define them. And it takes losing their hair, accepting it, it takes going through that process for them to realize this. You see, to be able to accept hair loss and go through it happily, you have to be 100% secure in yourself, in your ability. You have to be totally secure when something like hair is going to be removed. Guys often find this security, find this inner confidence through going through this hair loss phase. And the beautiful thing is, after they've gone through it, they can carry that on with them forevermore, right? Because that security in yourself cannot be taken away. But if you place that security in something like your hair, a lot of guys find out that that can be taken away, and that is when all these problems arise. So to demonstrate this, I want to share with you a couple of quotes I've had from guys who've sent their hair loss stories to me. One guy said, having hair or not having hair does not define you as a person. Your morals and how you treat people will define who you are. Another guy here says, in order to progress in life, we need to continuously push ourselves outside of our comfort zones and reinvent who we are. If you've got that comfort wrapped up in your appearance now, how you look now, that's not going to last forever. Like this guy says here, that is you being in your comfort zone. And that's why something like hair loss is a big problem for so many guys, because they are forced then to get out of their comfort zone. But the thing is, that's not a bad thing. If you keep an open mind, and like I've said time and time again, go through this acceptance phase, you learn to accept it, you learn to deal with it positively, you grow from that experience, you find security in other things that are going to last, and you're going to be much happier for it. However, if you go down the route of looking for cures, looking for ways to hold on to it, of which we have to emphasize there is no cure, there's only ways to kind of delay the process, you're gonna just be hanging on to that comfort. And by trying to cling on to that comfort zone, knowing that one day it's gonna be gone, right? Knowing that, anxiously worrying that it's still gonna be falling out at some point, it's gonna leave you in a horrible mental state. You're just gonna be prolonging that anxiety, prolonging all those negative feelings. And I've got another quote here I want to share with you. This was on a review of one of these sort of keep your hair products. It says, "My hair is a huge part of what makes me, me. It would suck to lose it." And we've even got guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, who we know recently opened up his own hair loss transplant clinic, saying, "One's image is an essential tool for being successful." You see, putting all your self-worth and all your identity in something like hair, which we know can be gone like that, right? Guys, one day have hair, the next day they realize it's falling out, is gonna have catastrophic effects. And really that's the beauty of going through something like hair loss. It really gets guys to reevaluate how they look at themselves and realize what's important to them. And that's something that I've been really inspired by and really happy to see all in my inbox, flooding my inbox with guys kind of coming to this realization. So listen, we've all heard sayings such as, it's what's on the inside that counts. Or, a good personality. Oh, we have a good personality. And a lot of us think that those things are just reserved to sort of say to ugly people, right? To make ugly people feel better, we talk about how personality is important and things like that. But if we look a lot deeper, we realize just how true those sayings are. And we also think that a lot of those things are kind of more reserved for women, right? We don't really associate men with necessarily caring so much about the way they look. I mean, if we think back to sort of 5-10 years ago, this whole movement, and I think it started with this whole size 0 era, right? It kind of gave birth to this movement of women out there who are campaigning for plus size models, accepting who you are. You've got people who are famous now on Instagram trying to promote more things about just accepting the body that you have, realizing that you're beautiful, this whole war on Photoshop, accepting your things like stretch marks and stuff like that. There's loads and loads more of these things going on for women nowadays. but not so much for men. And now you might think it's because, oh, well, men don't really care, right? Men are much stronger than that. Men aren't really affected by sort of the pressures of society. That's a thing that we often associate a lot more with women. But then, if that was the case, then, you know, why is hair loss specifically, you know, this billion-dollar industry? And also, why do we see things like depression? The men's suicide rate in the UK is off the, is unbelievable. And a lot of these things, of course, are intertwined with depression, pressures of keeping up this whole image of being successful and happy, having happy relationships, and often, you know, the pressure gets too much. And I think looks, and especially hair loss, being a big problem that affects so many men, is all kind of intertwined in that. And we really aren't seeing this sort of push of acceptance and positivity amongst men. We still see on the covers of magazines this whole perfect portrayal of the male image, and hair loss is still treated as this disease, using words like, you know, when's the cure for baldness gonna happen? And it doesn't help now, you know, more and more companies are out there relabeling these same hair loss drugs, the minoxidil, the finasteride, they relabel it as this sort of trendy new cure, convenient, can be sent to you in the post, hair loss is a choice, and things like that. And I think it just adds fuel to the fire, and it makes this whole situation worse for guys. It creates this feeling that guys need to put a lot more emphasis in their success and things like that in things like looks. When you look at programs like Love Island, I looked through these contestants, right? Not one bald guy in sight. So aside from that whole dad bod thing, we haven't seen anything kind of dissuading from this whole perfect looks culture amongst men. And when I looked more into this is when this big difference came apparent, of guys attaching a lot of their identity, a lot of their looks, a lot of their worth into something like hair, which of course doesn't last forever, right? It does not last forever. Every man is going to experience hair loss to a certain degree, and we know lots of young, healthy guys are going to go bald. It's just a fact of life. If we give an analogy here of women, like I said, this thing is much more sort of known about or talked about in women. You've got these young, sort of the young actress, the young model. Well, eventually when she gets to sort of 30, what happens? She gets washed up, right? In comes a new, younger, more beautiful version. And often we see women like that, when they get to the age, go for things like plastic surgery to try and cling on to those looks, because they've put all that success and self-worth into their looks, which don't last forever. And it seems like now today, more and more, we're seeing the same thing with men. So really, I suppose this is just a message to any guy out there who is worried, so worried about losing your hair. Realize that this process, although you might think it's unfair, it happens to so many guys. And I've seen time and time again, guys be so much better off for it. Ultimately, it comes down to what type of person you are, how you treat other people, your moral values. And the beautiful thing about those things is that they have longevity, right? Who you are as a person, it has longevity. You can continuously improve on who you are, how you treat other people with very small, easy actions. So the moral of the story is really, you know, think twice before you put all your self-worth into something like hair, because a huge percentage of guys out there are gonna realize, they're gonna come to this heavy train wreck realization that hair doesn't last. Luckily for you, Bald Cafe is going to be here for you, and I just want to congratulate all the guys who have gone through hair loss by accepting it and shaving it off, being better persons for it. I want to congratulate you and thank you as well to help, you know, spread this positivity, be awesome role models for other guys who are going to go through the same thing. I think it's fantastic, and I myself want to continue to push this positivity, send this message out there to guys worrying so much about something like hair. It just isn't worth it. You're worth much more than the hair on the top of your head. I of course want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll be back very soon with another one. Goodbye. That was a tough video to make, because kind of a complicated subject, right? But I thought it's really worth us talking about it, getting out there. You've got things, women, you know, really pushing this whole positivity stuff. And it was hard for me to get my words across, but I hope you realized, you know, what I was trying to say there. These guys sending me their messages just talking about how they just realize that hey, hair doesn't make me who I am. And it takes going through the hair loss. It takes that, you've got to hit rock bottom, you've got to be depressed, you've got to feel sad, and then you hit that point where you say, hey, like, what am I so worried about, right? Like, why am I worried about this? And then they realise, just like I realised, this isn't, like, the hair isn't who I am. And anyone who thinks that the hair did make me who I am is just shallow. You know, totally shallow. They're not with the program, they're not switched on at all. And unfortunately, this whole things with these hair loss treatments, and it keeps guys in that mindset, right? It stops them from progressing, stops them from opening up their mind. It stops them from having that realization that it's just hair. And I can do so much more than this. And I really think if you just worry about something like looks that go, it's gonna keep you from progressing. Bonus little rant there. I'll see you soon.